Today we're talking about how to dress for your body right now as it is. As a personal stylist who doesn't use body types, I have to use a lot of other strategies when I'm talking about clothing. And so today's workshop is really just about how to start talking about your own body like it's something that you actually like, and then finding a few other strategies, not only to talk about it, but how to dress it as it is right now. So first things first, I want to talk about body image in general. No, we're not talking about body type. We're not talking about anything like that can get a little sticky, but I do want to mention that we are talking about bodies and we are talking about the clothes that adorn the body that you're in. So if it ends up being a sticky subject, please pause. I understand the amount of stress and the amount of energy that can be put into our bodies this way. So please take a minute. If you ever need to pause this recording, I'm not in the room with you. I won't know. I need you to feel safe in whatever it is that we're talking about. And I have this disclaimer kind of every single time I talk about clothes because I do understand it brings up a lot of stuff. Now, the reason you should listen to me when it comes to talking about all of this stuff is because I know that bodies cannot be wrong, but clothing can be. And the reason I know that is because I spent 8 years in the design industry. I had my own clothing brand and I spent many days messing things up. I have made clothes that you cannot get on your body. I have made clothes with armholes that were way too small. I have made clothes that I couldn't put over my head because I just didn't make the neck hole big enough. Anyway, it has been an ordeal, but I just know that man-made products can be made wrong, and human bodies, because of the nature of what they are, cannot be wrong. So the only thing that can be wrong is how we're going to talk about it. And one of the things that I really want to go over is what we're going to be talking about in this whole presentation, which is unlearning body types, which is a whole thing of itself, anchor point dressing and how to do it properly, shapes and proportions, and then putting it all together. Of course, there's always going to be a Q&A section. This is a version of a workshop that I teach quite often. So if you have questions, put them in the comments below and I will get to them as soon as I possibly can. Of course, if you ever want to book me for a workshop, you can, and we can answer those questions live. But when it comes to body types, first thing we need to do is we need to unlearn it. But think about when you started learning it. I remember the first time that I started figuring out what my body type was, and I must have been between that 9 and 11 kind of age range, where I was reading a magazine. I think it might have been a Tiger Beat or something equally as embarrassing that I'm announcing online through the entire internet. And I started filling out these things and I started realizing that all of the options were trying to get me to have an hourglass figure. So all of the options, if you had a pear shape, if you had more weight on the bottom versus on the top, it was always how to balance it. And that's really when I started realizing that my body was somehow wrong for looking the way that it did. And that was a long time ago. That is over 20 years, well over 20 years of unlearning something that I thought to be true. And that was encouraged to be true by people who I surrounded myself with, the people who I was seeing on media, whether it was social media or back in the day, it was kind of TV and movies. And then also what I was reading in books and everything else and everyone around me. It was all, how do we figure out what our body type is and how do we dress according to our body type? Now, here's the thing is, you don't really need a body type unless you're looking for an hourglass figure. So when I became a stylist and when I started asking myself these questions, I started saying, okay, well, do you want an hourglass figure? Because everyone kept telling me they just want to feel put together. The two are not the same. And that is where the issue or the disconnect lies in our whole kind of styling versus fashion versus how to feel put together versus all of this seems overwhelming and now I have way too many clothes and I don't know what to do. Remember that body shape go in and out of fashion just like everything else. We have body shapes that go back to the ancient times where very soft shoulders, very soft tummies were all things that people really wanted. We have the Rubenesque era. We have also the 1920s and the 1960s where a very straight up and down body was one that people wanted. It was the ideal. And then you have in the 2010s and in the 1950s, a more kind of hourglassy figure. And now keep in mind, it's still changing. A couple years ago, it was a super fit figure. Now it's a very thin figure again. Our society is going to continue to change the body type that we want in fashion, because at the end of the day, it does help sell more things. People who are confident in themselves don't end up buying as much statistically. So how do we keep people buying new things, starting new trends, feeling a pressure of outside influence? You make it trendy, and that's really what it comes down to. But at the same time, I know that looking in the past is not going to change how you feel now. And also 5 minutes into a YouTube video, if I entirely change your life, I'd be like, wow, good for me. But it's not going to change that fast. And it's probably not going to change that fast over the next, call it 6 months. It is going to be progressively getting better and better and better. And it gets progressively better by changing the type of language you use when talking about yourself in the clothes. If you say any of these things, I need you to change how you talk about them or how you think about them. Because that's a really big thing, is when you think or when you say, is this flattering? Is this not flattering? What you're really saying is, do I look tall and thin in this garment? There's no other definition really when we think of the word flattering. And I have tried to think of different words that mean kind of the same sort of exact phrasing of when someone asks me, is this flattering? What they're saying is, does my tummy look flat? Do I look thin? Do I look tall? Because we're so used to hearing this helps elongate and this makes things better. And I'm like, what? But then it goes against how to look cool and how to look chic and how to look more of these words that feel a little bit more disruptive by nature of what they are. So if you say, is this flattering? Does this look flattering on me? I need you to change the thought or the phrasing to, does this look like the look that I'm trying to achieve? So insert your fashion words and try to start using some of those fashion words that mean an aesthetic. Now, if you say, what is my body type? I need you to start asking, am I looking for an hourglass figure in this look? If the answer is no, and it sometimes might be, then we don't need the body type. Use body type or understanding the proportions you have as a tool to achieve the look you want. But again, it's not an end all be all. It is a tool, it is a strategy within a bigger range of tools and strategy. Now, I get this one a lot, especially when I'm in people's closets. So do you say, can you see my insert? I get this, like whatever this skin is right here, this like connective tissue, I get that one a lot. Like, oh, you can see my arms. Or you say, can you see my tummy? You have two options when it comes to that. Either you're okay with seeing your tummy or you're not okay. And there is no right or wrong option. If you're not comfortable, you're not comfortable. And a video on the internet is not gonna change that. But what we can do, instead of saying, how do I hide, is how do I highlight? Can we start focusing and shifting the conversation from what is negative, how do I hide it, to what is positive, how do I put that up on a pedestal? How do I draw attention somewhere else to distract from somewhere that I don't want people to see? We are intentionally drawing attention somewhere else simply because we're not fully comfortable with X just yet. And this last one, please don't do this. So if you try something on in your closet and you go, oh, it doesn't fit, that's okay, I'll keep it and I'll hope. This is where we start to build trust in ourselves. So instead of holding on to it, because I really need people to stop making the first decision of the day, one that is putting them in some sort of discomfort, stop doing that. Like, if you're a guy and you're here 10 minutes in, like, power to you, but I've never met a man who puts on a pair of pants and goes, oh, that's really tight, no, you know what? I'm just gonna deal with it and I'm gonna be uncomfortable all day. I've never met a man who does that. But women, we do this all the time. You put on a bra and it's like poking you in the sides. You're like, yeah, it's fine, I'll just deal with it. And then you're cranky the rest of the day. We need to stop making the decision to be upset or to be frustrated the first thing in the morning. So instead of holding on to the, oh, I hope it fits one day, and then putting it back in our closet to attack us another day, take it out of your closet. And we start shifting that mindset from, it doesn't serve me right now, it could serve me in the future, or it could serve someone else right now. I don't care what you do with it. You can hold on to it. You can put it in a suitcase. You can put it in another room. But let's take it out of your existing closet and make your existing closet a place that we go for things to feel comfortable and secure. This is your happy place, and let's keep it like that. In your closet, you're going to have things from all sorts of decades. I work with clients who have things from high school, from college, from their first job, from their second job, from their first baby, from their second baby. They still have maternity clothes, even though their second baby is like 7. There are going to be different eras in your closet. And if you're anything like me, I have a lot of things that I have borrowed from my mom. She's just not getting them back. And having those things helps create a personal style. Now, what's beautiful about a personal style is that it is not trend bound. So you're going to have trends in your closet by nature of when you purchase the item. So if you bought anything in 2026, you are going to have something that feels trendy in 2026 in your closet. Even something classic like a button-down blouse is going to have a 2026 feel to it because of the length of the collar, because of the buttons and the fit and the fabric and everything else. So this is why I say never start from scratch when it comes to your closet, because you're gonna lose all of that personality. You're gonna lose the souvenir t-shirt you got from New York on your first trip to New York in 2018. You're gonna lose the piece of jewelry that you bought when you on your first trip to Paris or wherever it was. So keeping those things and integrating them into your personal style is going to be crucial for understanding how to make it feel personal. Now, when stylists and other sort of fashion people start talking about authentic style, this is what they're really talking about. They're talking about integrating pieces from different eras of your life and strategizing and using them in a 2026 way. So if that doesn't make sense, what I'm saying is you take that New York shirt that you bought in 2018 and it still kind of fits you and you're like, okay, cool. I'm gonna wear that under a blazer because that's really trendy in 2026. Does that make more sense? Hope that makes sense, because no one is here giving me feedback. So if it doesn't, you gotta drop me a comment. When you're getting dressed to feel put together and using some of those 2026 strategies, I want you to think about anchor points. Now, anchor points are natural parts on a human body around the neck, the waist, or the feet. You only need one to make it feel like your outfit is put together, not thin, put together. And that's the goal we're going for. We're going for put together, elevated, strong, confident. Those are words that I deal with a lot of my clients, and those are the ones that we're talking about right now. But it's something that feels visually or physically hard. Now, an anchor is something that's black, especially if you have an outfit that doesn't have any black in it. Something like a black shoe will instantly make the outfit feel heavy. Same with a white shoe, except it will still draw attention to your feet, but it'll make it feel quite light. So think about anchor points being black or white. Also think about them being physically heavy, like a chunky brown, like platform sandal, or something that feels heavy by texture. So that means like metal, glass, wood, leather. There are so many. You can even have like a stiff kind of collar that would work as an anchor point. What we're looking for is something that feels this physically heavy. And if you're already saying like, Rebecca, there is no such thing, think about your necklaces, think about your earrings, think about your shoes, think about buckles. All of these materials exist quite naturally in fashion, except most of the time they fit into more so accessories rather than actual like garments. Now, keep in mind, if you're like me on video and I kind of lose my waist, I only have my neck to play with. So I'm gonna make sure to put in a couple of anchor points right here around my neck and my face, which is gonna feel very much put together, even though I'm chest up. Now, obviously, when you're standing somewhere or when you are walking around, you have access to your waist and to your feet, and they're going to feel very, very different. Another thing that feels awkward when we're talking about clothing is cutting things off at your joints. Now, I'm very intentionally cutting things off at my joints, and one of the things that I like to do is make myself appear a little bit broader. I have a masculine gender lean, so when I'm talking about style and things that make me feel personally comfortable, I lean more masculine, and so making my shoulders appear broader is something that I like to do. That being said, if you are wondering why you feel rectangular or boxy, it could be that you've cut something off right at your shoulders, or right at your elbows, or sometimes right there at your wrist bone, and it just feels a little, for lack of a better phrase, disjointed. Try not to cut things off directly there. And I know it's more challenging because fast fashion is a thing, and a lot of the times we don't see things cut off right at the shoulders. In fact, we actually see things falling off of the shoulders, and that's a conversation about fit that we're gonna have on another day. So if you're noticing that things feel awkward, it's probably because clothing is cutting you off right there at the joints, with the exception of your waist. And your waist is one of those places where we actually do want to draw attention in some cases. Now, it is not the smallest part of your body. It is right there. If you were to stand up super straight and bend over sideways and try and touch the floor, where you hinge, that's your waist. One of the more creative and fun ways to start playing with proportions, though, is with the rule of thirds. And the rule of thirds you see in all sorts of different styles. The rule of thirds you see in all sorts of different creative mediums. And we can do this on the top, 2/3 on top, or we can do this on the bottom, 2/3 on the bottom. Now, 2/3 on top really comes down to, you're not trying to hit it at your waist, because that's not 2/3 of your body. The 2/3 of your body really does hit kind of around your mid thigh. Now I say kind of because it's going to be different on everyone depending on if you have a short torso, long torso, etc., etc. I'm 6'1", so it is going to be a different physical measurement on me versus on somebody else. So having the option of 2/3 on top, 2/3 on the bottom is really going to give you a lot of options to play with when it comes to playing with proportion. Which leads me to a couple of questions that I want to ask you now that you have a couple of things bustling around in your head about style and proportions and different ways to kind of think about clothing. One is, what kind of function do you need your clothes to do? That's always rule number one, and I think it's one that kind of like stylists forget about, but I ask my clients all the time, I'm like, could you pick up your kid? Like, could you physically bend over, pick up your kid, drive a car, get groceries, live the life you want to live if you're in the suit jacket that's just a wee bit too tight, in whatever it is that you're wearing? If it doesn't make sense for your life, you're not gonna wear it. It's gonna end up sitting in your closet and you're literally going to stare at it like a museum being like, oh, one day. Let's not keep the one day clothes. Let's do function right now so that it makes you feel okay. Because staring at clothes and having it be one of those ones where you're like, oh, one day, you're still reminiscing and longing and hoping for a life that you don't have currently, which means that you can't super be pleased with the life you have. Now, if you have pieces that you wear on occasion, like your special occasion clothes, we're talking about something different because you do have an occasion to wear those. I'm talking about the ones that, like the 6-inch heels that you just know you're literally never gonna wear even on those days, whether they're a remnant of the past or something that you think that you're gonna wear in the future. If you have them and you haven't worn them before, let's wear them now. Let's go out of our way to see if we can find a space in our week to wear these clothes, or in our month. Whatever the case may be, let's make sure that it feels like something that we can do, and so we can start embodying that person that we want to become. When it comes to, do I want to make people feel uncomfortable? Yeah, sometimes the answer is yes. I worked in a restaurant my entire 20s. Of course, there were days that I wanted people to feel just a little bit uncomfortable around me. And it's not to say that I wasn't a good server, I absolutely was, but by dressing in a way that made people feel a little uncomfortable or made it feel a little awkward for them to come up and hit on me or to touch me or to, yeah, I served in the freaking early 2000s. You guys can think of all of the things that I avoided by wearing things that made other people uncomfortable, which made me feel comfortable in the meantime. And I'm not going to apologize for it. I got to wear what I wanted to wear and what felt safe for me at the time. And there's lots of different ways and strategies we can do that. I work with clients who are super petite and we make other people feel uncomfortable because she's a lawyer and we need her to take up more room or more space in the room. There's lots of strategies to talk about. And again, that's something for another day because this video is already getting a little long and I don't want to leave you with absolutely nothing. On that note, let's talk about an action plan. Like, what can you do right now? So there are 5 fashion theories. There's color, print, texture, details, and shape. And what we can do is you pick your top 2 or 3 theories, okay? I'll go through the whole 5, so we're gonna stop the video. You're gonna pick me up, go to your closet, and we'll do this together. We're gonna blend that through the lens of your aesthetic, and then we're gonna add your gender lean, and that will be your personal style, and then you're never asking, does this work on me again? So for the 5 fashion theories, this is where you need to take notes, okay? If you like color, if color is number one for you, you will know because everything will be colors. And now you don't need a color analysis. You don't need anything like this because if color is number one, you do not care. You love your colors. You are wearing neon, you are wearing bright, you are wearing black, you are wearing like pastels, like all of the colors. Actually, usually if people like color, they like bold colors. That's usually what I see. Now, remember that with color analysis, you already know your colors. So if we do this with intention, and I've had this conversation for many a millennial, since I started my brand in like the early 2000s, I have been having this conversation with color analysis, being like, is this something that people need? And their response is always, they already know their colors. They pay us to confirm or reiterate. So take that for what you will. If you like color, you definitely don't need it and you already know what your colors are. So color is number one. And now just remember, if you're having a hard time with color, match the pigments. Okay, so if you're like, I don't know if I like color, I don't hate color, but I always have a hard time matching them. If you have a hard time with that, match the pigment of the color, how bold is it? And then those ones will always work together, almost always work together. If you like texture, texture is that feeling that clothing has. So like the most vibrant textures, and if you like texture, you're probably gonna have at least 1 or 4 of these, is faux fur, furs of some kind, something more like suede. Sequins, sheer, lace, cable knits, strong knits, you're gonna have something like that. Now, if you like texture, think of your building your outfits, like you are building and layering. So you're talking more about depth and how to use texture that way. Now, another one that's easy to see in a closet is print. So you have lots of print. Now there's always neutral prints. These are prints that we've seen for a decade and a half and they lean more menswear. So this is the pinstripe, polka dot, florals, American style camo, plaid, animal print. Those are all considered neutral prints. And then you have your abstract prints, and these ones are more along the lines of like geometric prints or prints that have like weird kind of animals or fruit. I've seen a lot of fruit lately, a lot of bugs lately too. Things like that, that feel a little bit more modern. So when you're blending prints together, the easiest way to blend 2 prints together is to have a hero print and a sidekick. So the hero is where your eye naturally wants to go and the sidekick is there to support the hero. So usually they have to play together in the same movie, or they play together in the same movie, which means that they have a color that is tying the 2 together, and you probably wear them to the same spot. Something like if you're doing trousers with a work shirt, if you're doing jeans with a t-shirt. Details. Details, if you've ever said, oh, I bought that because I really like the buttons, you like details. Details are the parts on a clothing item that add to the clothing item, but don't necessarily need to be there. So things like interesting buttons or a flounce or a drape kind of in the front or the back. Zippers. Zippers for no reason. Those ones are good. Lace kind of everywhere. All of that works well into details. Now, the thing is, each decade has very distinct details, and if you wear too many things within that decade, it's gonna start feeling like a costume, so just be aware of that one. But if you've got a lot of details in your closet, usually your challenge starts feeling like everything feels either matronly or costumey, and you're not sure how to make it feel more modern. The last one is shape, and this is one that you've probably heard of before, especially if you've been in that body type of conversation for a long time, because always you're gonna hear add more volume. This is another word that we use in fashion all the time, is volume. So the thing with shape, and if you love shape, it's more about bold shapes. We're talking about shoulder pads and sleeves and strong like pants and dresses and things like that. You have to make something else appear wider or bigger to make something else look smaller. So let me say that again because it sounds counterintuitive, and I get this a lot with my clients when I'm doing like wide leg pants. They're like, oh, well, it makes my legs look wider. I'm like, but if your legs look wider, then your waist looks smaller, right? Because then we're creating an upside down triangle. Same thing with the top. If you want to add more volume to your shoulders, your waist will appear smaller, or your bust will appear smaller. So if you've got a larger bust and you want to minimize, the best thing to do is create a upside down triangle using the line of your bust. And that will help minimize, and you can start playing with shape that way. Now, you have the 5 fashion theories and you probably have an idea of which ones you like. take what you've just learned, look at your existing closet. Your existing closet has your personal style in it. You're probably just missing one or two pieces to tie it all together. Your closet has bottoms, tops, layers, and accessories. Now I put in shoes into the accessories, okay? So I find when people have a hard time styling or making things feel interesting, it's because they're missing a section. They don't like shopping for bottoms, they don't like shopping for tops, they don't like shopping for layers, or they don't like shopping for accessories, and because they don't have all four pieces, it feels challenging. That being said, you could also potentially have the issue of you have all of those things, but it's all for summer, but nothing for winter, or vice versa. So take a look at your existing closet and put them into categories of tops, bottoms, accessories, and layers. And if you find yourself missing one of those things, it's making it harder to get dressed. Remember, if it's in your closet though, it's there for a reason and you like it. If it's there and you don't wear it, that's when it needs to go. So once you've culled through your wardrobe and you only have the good stuff, that's when you really get to see what your personal style is, because it will be there on display. And that is it. Once you have it all there, put it together, start seeing if you can change the language, start playing with the clothes you have, and if you have any other questions, come back to my channel.